Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music, and I'm going to break down a basics on triads right now. Triads are really, really valuable, but they can be overwhelming because it's kind of like sounds like this fancy concept. But there's some very basic ones that you want to learn first, and they actually come from the standard bar chords. I'm going to show you all about it, but I have all the diagrams for all these triads in my guitar guidebook that you can get for free. Been getting great feedback on the book. It's got all the chords, scales, triad diagrams, major scale, pentatonic stuff, all of it in one book. It's like the core foundation of what you want to know. So you can get the guidebook for free. Just check out the link for the free book in the link below. Thanks for supporting. Here we go. All right, so here are the triads you want to learn first. And it wasn't really Hey Joe, because there's some riffs in Hey Joe by the Hendrix version. But I took the chords because it's quite a few chords. And it's the circle of fifths is what it comes from. So it's like a C chord, a G chord, a D chord, and an A chord, and then an E chord, right? All just standard open chords. But it gives you room to mess around with these basic triads. We're going to play all of our triads right now on the top three strings. So the G string, B string, and the high E string. But the two bar chords that we want to look at that they come from are the E shape. So this is like an E shape with the finger barred down, the index finger. So C is right there on the 8th fret E string. So E root, E shape. So this is a C major bar chord. And if I played G, I'd find the G on the E string and play the same shape. And if I wanted to do D, I could go to the 10th fret. And, this progression just makes us, see a bunch of chords. A is right here on the 5th fret E root. And then E is either the open E or the 12th fret. So that's the first one that we're going to use. But the other one that we're going to combine is the A bar chord, the A root bar chord. So if I played those same chords, and these bar chord diagrams are in that guidebook as well, I would just follow those roots on the A string. So C, G, 10th fret, D is the 5th fret, and then A is the 12th fret or the open A, and then E is the 7th fret. And so A root, A shape. So if I played C major, it'd be 3rd fret A string. G would be 10th fret A string. D would be 5th fret A string. And then A would be 12th fret A string. And then E would be 7th fret A string. So we're going to play the other triad based on that shape. Now, if you know both of those bar chords well, then you can mix and match them to play a progression where your hand doesn't have to move around as much, like C, G, D, A, E, or C, G, D, A, E. And the more chords you know, the more you can do it all in one spot. Or just you get different voicings that you can experiment with, and you'll hear different movements and different, the more voicings you know, the cooler the chord progression can sound, and the more options you have to actually improvise your rhythm guitar. Okay, so now let's talk about the triads. I'm going to start with that E shape. I'm going to go to the C major chord right here. And all the triad is just the top three strings of that. But when you just play the top three strings, it frees up fingers to add embellishments. That you don't have those free fingers when you're playing the full bar chord. Also, this is great to know these triads when you're playing with other instruments, so you can play in different ranges. So you're just not always playing the exact same thing as the other guitar player. The first little music group I was in, there were 2 guitars, and we just always played the exact same thing. And this is a way to actually break you out of that, which now you're complementing the other instrument instead of just duplicating it. So if I look at this bar chord and I just want to play the top 3 strings, it looks like this. And you can see it's just like that. So I look at the root on the high E, which is, we're going for a C major triad right now. That finishes the chord if you wanted. But we're going to play those top three. So what I like to do is I look at the root on the high E, so it's the 8th fret. So, and then I can go to that 8th fret G just to cover it. But then my middle finger is going to go a half step up on the 9th fret of the G string. So this is a C major triad. You know, that's where some of those little guitar parts can come from. You know, that kind of thing. Little Spin Doctors reference there. They're not in that key, but just giving you ideas. So that is a C major triad. Now, if you cover that G string a half step below, you can get that kind of bluesy and also there's all the little things that come from that. But if you can visualize the basic bar chord, you can then play the triad for it. Like that. So that's C major. Now, if I wanted to play a G major, just as an example, I just can look for that root on the high E, which is the 3rd fret, E, F, G. So I can play C major triad to a G major triad right here. A lot of cool guitar parts, not just strummy strums, but actual little parts that you can pick out come from triad ideas. And also in soloing, knowing these triads is helpful too. Little ideas like that. So C major's right here. G major would be 3rd fret high E, same shape. And then with that shape, if I wanted to play D major next, it's the 10th fret high E. And if I wanted to play A major, it's the 5th fret high E. And if I wanted to play E major, I could go up to the 12th fret. Or you can see it here, which, comes from that. So C major, G major, D major, A major, E major. Like that. Now let's do the A shape for that progression. The triad for this C major chord with the A root. I don't actually play the high E when I'm playing this bar chord. It is right now, but most of the time it's muted. But if I just focus on the top 3 strings, I can play it this way. 3rd finger on the 5th fret G, pinky on the 5th fret B, and 3rd fret on the high E. So you'll hear that that's the same C major chord, the same 3 notes as the first one we played, but a different voicing. So the same 3 notes are arranged in a different combination, but you'll hear that it's the same. So that's another thing. If you play both triads for a chord progression, like let's just say C to G, I could go. And now I'm adding movement within just a 2-chord progression. I played 4 voicings for a 2-chord progression. I played 2 voicings for C major, and then 2 for G. Like that. Another very valuable technique there. So C major would be here. And the way I'm finding it right now, since I'm not playing the A string, I also happen to know that the root is on the G string in this voicing. So this is a C note, which is the 5th fret G string. So G, A, B, half step to C. So if I wanted to just go through that same progression, C, G, D, A, E, I can do it this way. Here's C major, Then G major would be 12th fret G string. D major would be 7th fret G string root. And A major would be the 14th fret G string. And then E would be the 9th fret G string. So as you get to know them better, you can combine both voicings within the progression. So I could play C major here, G major with this one, D major here, A major with this one, and then E major here. Or I could play C major here to G here, D major here, to A major here, and then E major here. Let's add one more triad, and it's one of the most popular chords that exists. It's the D shape, the D major chord. So if I have D right here, that's a D major chord. That's not a triad because I'm playing 4 notes. That's got the open D string there. But if I just played the top 3 strings of that, the D is also on the B string. So if I just play the top 3 strings, it's movable. You know, if I moved it with the 4 strings, that D, open D hasn't changed. So if I just play the top 3 strings, you can do that. So here's a D chord, up a whole step's an E chord, half step to F, whole step to G, whole step to A, whole step to B, half step to C, whole step to D, right? So the root's on the B string. So if I wanted to just use that shape to play the same chords from Hey Joe, we have C to G. So C's right here. So I'm looking at the 3rd finger root. So that's a 13th fret. G is the 8th fret B. And then, so we went C, G, then we need D, which you can do the classic. And then A is the 10th fret. And then E is the 5th fret. So check it out. What's cool is you combine all 3 triads and you can start to almost, you know, you have multiple options now. So C, I'll go a little faster. C, G, D, A, E. Listen to that. It's got an interesting thing going on there. And the more of these I know, I can do it all over the place. C, G, right? D, A, E. And you start picking them out in different combinations. So that's 3 different shapes. That's the shape that comes from the E, the shape that comes from the A, and then the shape that comes from the D. So that's a C major triad using the D shape. All right, so hopefully that was helpful. You can, you know, that's just the tip of the iceberg. But you can get all those triad diagrams in that free guidebook. So check the link in the description below. It'll take you right to that free book. It's got these triad diagrams in it. It's helpful to have the diagrams as you're learning them. And I hope you had fun. So thanks again for supporting. Hope to see you again. Take care.